Joining me next, the strategic advisor for the coalitions on the 2020 Trump campaign. He's also served as a special assistant to the president, as well as assistant communications director at the White House. Boris Epshteyn joining me now here on Real America. Boris, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Dan. Good to be with you.
Wow, we have so much to talk about. I guess we'll first get to the debate debacle, and then I want to touch on those hearings with former FBI Director Comey and all those revelations that have come out as well. I'm sure you and the White House wish there would be more coverage on what's being revealed, but of course nobody's paying attention to that. So we'll go with debate stuff first. Your assessment, watching last night, it was about 98 minutes. I've been dubbing it in this show the debate debacle. I also joked last night and again today about Chris Wallace not being a journalist any longer. I offered him a box of tissues last night to get the brown stuff off of his nose from being so far up Mr. Biden's rear end. What's your assessment of what we all witnessed as a nation last night?
Well, I'll agree with you in terms of Chris Wallace. If you look at the numbers, Chris Wallace interrupted President Trump, I believe, 76 times last night. He interrupted Joe Biden 15 times. That's a 5-to-1 difference. And that tells the story of that debate. Chris Wallace unquestionably treated Joe Biden with kid gloves while going after President Trump. But the big picture is this. President Trump drew a clear contrast between him being a determined, authentic, strong leader and the bumbling, fumbling, mumbling fool that's Joe Biden.
Let's fact check them, too. If you were listening to us leading up to this interview, Boris, I mentioned, I think, one or two things where the president misspoke. I don't think they were outright lies. Joe Biden didn't seem to answer anything, and Wallace never called him on it. I've got a couple pages of notes. One simple, easy one. He thought he would throw out the line that the left has been using for years now, the very fine people. The president tried to interject, saying, you didn't finish what I said. No news organization has never played the 36 seconds after where he described what he meant by fine people. He wasn't fact-checked there. He tried to throw the president under the bus for allegedly calling veterans losers and suckers, which no one has been on the record saying that he said it. Only 4 anonymous sources, 25 have gone on the record to support it. And then when he was called out for calling veterans stupid bastards, it's on video of a couple years ago, he said it didn't exist. And Wallace didn't fact-check him. You, sir, on some of the facts that were not checked last night or today.
No doubt about it. Joe Biden also said that it had been discredited that his son, Hunter Biden, got $3.5 million from the wife of the former Moscow mayor. That has never been discredited. That is a wire. It's been proven. Joe Biden also lied about his support for the Green New Deal. It is on his website that he supports the Green New Deal.
I looked it up.
Joe Biden may not know what a website is. He may not know how to get to it, but it sure is there. Joe Biden spun himself into circles yesterday, and here's what happened. President Trump came to debate. Joe Biden came to give his canned answers, but once those were gone, once that was done, he was absolutely nowhere to be found. He was a total mess.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that. That would have been an easy fact check on the spot. I'm sure that Chris Wallace had looked at websites for both these candidates leading up to this debate. He could have easily just said, excuse me, Mr. Vice President, the Green Deal's on your website. But he didn't. And that's my biggest takeaway.
I'm so busy getting ready to interrupt President Trump. That's what Wallace was doing.
Yeah, well, and he was debating him. Again, if you heard just a few minutes ago in our news block here, we aired the soundbite where the president literally said, what am I, debating you? Right. Chris, because that's what it seemed like to me. Again, that is my biggest takeaway. Few more things. You touched on the Hunter buyout. Super predators. Man, the president went after him on his words, and I wish he would have even went even harder on some of Joe's past racist comments, like talking about when there was integration in schools a couple decades ago. He said jungles. He referred to the schools as becoming jungles. Super predators, referring to black criminals. Didn't touch it. Wallace didn't hammer him again. These are facts, correct?
Absolutely. Wallace did not go after Joe Biden at all on his recent comments, saying that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, and referring to a black reporter as a cocaine junkie. Joe Biden has a long history of racism. Let's be honest, he's a Dixiecrat. That's who he is. He is revered and spoke reveringly about Dixiecrats and racists and members of the KKK. We all know that's in Joe Biden's history. Even when he announced his run for president this time, he spoke wistfully about really stone-cold segregationists who he was in the Senate with back 150 years ago, whenever it was that Joe Biden got to the Senate. So there's no doubt about the fact that Joe Biden has a lifelong career of racism, whereas President Trump passed the First Step Act, signed opportunity zones into law, and has done everything to improve the lives of all Americans and the African-American community. Specifically, that's why before the COVID plague hit us from China, African-American unemployment was at a historic low in this country, thanks to President Trump.
Yeah, I love how the mainstream media and Joe dance around that issue every single time. That this president in 3.5 years has done more for the black community and other minority groups than the first black president did in 8 years.
No doubt.
I mean, and I wish the president and Wallace again would have hit more on the 94 crime bill, which I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Mr. Biden one of the co-authors of that bill that the Clinton administration rammed through, which is a fact, put more black and brown folks behind bars for longer periods of time than white folks. Am I correct in making that statement?
Biden was a champion of the 94 crime bill. That is when he referred to African-American men as predators. And it took the First Step Act passed by President Trump, the great work done by Jared Kushner together with folks like Van Jones to correct the mistakes of Joe Biden from 94. Joe Biden has done nothing in his 47 years in public office and public life but make mistakes. He's failed throughout his life, and he'll fail again on November 3rd.
Another poignant moment I thought was great was when they were pushing Mr. Biden on law and order, and the president jumped in and said, name one law agency that's backing you. Go ahead, we have time. Joe quickly jumped in and said, no, we don't have time. Well, actually, they didn't need much time because, right, what would he talk about?
He doesn't have any law enforcement groups. The president has been supported by IUPA, the NAPO, and historically, in a move that hasn't been done in decades, the New York City Police Benevolent Association, the NYPBA, which is extremely strong, run by Pat Lynch, who I'm a big supporter of. They've come out for President Trump, and they have not supported a presidential candidate in over 30 years. But seeing what terrible Democrat policies have done in New York under that fool Bill de Blasio, and seeing what Joe Biden would do when he's run by the lawless mob in this country, the New York City police all over this country, from Chicago to the Southwest, all over, are supporting President Trump because he is the president of law and order. I actually just put out an op-ed on that on Newsweek. You can find it on my Twitter account at BorisEP.
Yeah, Boris, it's very telling when you see traditional unions that always vote on the left now backing this president. That is typically not a Republican get. They usually don't get the union vote. I found that very telling as well. Mr. Biden wouldn't call out Antifa. As a matter of fact, I believe when he was trying to slam President Trump that he supports the KKK and white supremacists, which is BS. He has called them out. He's denounced them on Twitter, in the Oval Office, in the press room multiple times. But when he was pushed on Antifa, he made the claim that did he say it's an idea? It's not an organization. Right.
He claimed that it's an idea when we all know Antifa's an organization. And you know what? You tell it to those people whose businesses have been burned down. You tell it to the wife of David Dorn, the police captain in St. Louis, who was murdered by the mob, that Antifa is not real. It very much is real, and it's a group that wants to bring lawlessness to this country and that would control this country in Joe Biden's America, which is a scary thought.
All right, got to get to this stuff real quick, and then we'll move on from the debate. Supreme Court. Biden was pushed on, will you stack the court? You want more numbers, and will you try to create more senators with making D.C. a state? Totally walked around it. Wallace didn't call him on it. We know that's been a push now for Democrats, right? That's one way they think they can win the Senate. They try to make 1 or 2 more seats in D.C., which you know would go liberal, and then stack the court and go past the 9 count, and he wouldn't even address it.
Well, Biden gave a total nonsense answer to that. So, well, if I give you an answer, that's going to be the issue. Well, guess what? That's what the debate's for. That's like saying, well, if I tell you what my tax plan is, that'll be the issue. Yes, the American people deserve to know. But you know what the reality is, Dan? Yes, Democrats do want to stack the court. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to pack the court. They want to change America. They want to get rid of the filibuster, which, by the way, should have been done by Republicans because we know Democrats will do it. Democrats want to grab power at any cost and make this country into a banana republic.
Yeah, and finally, I got to touch on this because OAN was the only network that I saw that aired it in its entirety. The other networks, barely a clip. of former FBI Director Comey's testimony today in front of that Senate subcommittee, where we got to give props to Senator Graham, Senator Cruz for going after him and trying to get to the bottom of what the hell happened back in 2016. The White House's thoughts, your thoughts on more revelations coming out now about how the Trump campaign was treated and also how this investigation went down. And it looks to me like this was all leading back to the Hillary Clinton campaign.
No doubt, and we saw that in the letter put out by D&I Ratcliffe yesterday, the Director of National Intelligence. This was all thought up by the Clinton campaign, but even worse than that, we all know that Hillary Clinton is crooked. This goes back to President Obama. He was briefed on it early. He knew it was all cooked up by the Clintons, and he let it go. Time is coming for President Obama, former CIA Director Brennan, and all the other ones who participated in this horrible hoax, this horrible lie, this attempted coup against President Trump, which includes Joe Biden. As President Trump said yesterday in the debate, Biden was the one that cooked up that crazy Logan Act scheme to try and bring down General Flynn. That was January 5th, 2017, Dan. They should have been planning their next careers, but they were planning how to take down the incoming administration. That's a coup. Joe Biden's guilty of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Boris Epshteyn from the White House, we appreciate it, strategic advisor for the 2020 Trump-Biden campaign. You're welcome back on anytime, sir. We appreciate the insight.
Thanks so much.
Still ahead, the Hodge twins will join us, talk about last night's debate, the Russian hoax investigation, and the Rock's decision to back Biden. Don't go away.